here's the end product. In this video, we'll take you through what we've done, take a look inside the system. This is the Realistic Modulaire 12-1470A. And as we do in these videos, we'll take a little bit of look at the manufacturer, the original history of this system. I found some of the original sales literature on it, and we'll pop that up. This was a budget-friendly system. Many people in their homes, this was probably one of the first stereo systems that people had, solid state. And it was very widely marketed, and I don't know how many are still out there. I have not seen them before, but I suspect there's quite a few of them around. I picked this one up at the flea market. You may have seen an Instagram post I did on this a couple weeks ago, and we've completed a cosmetic refurbishment on it. Cleaned the case, cleaned the knobs, the bezel, changed the bulbs over to LED, rewired the tuning knob for the stereo tuner so you can see that we have a proper indicator for a good signal on that. Walnut veneer case, refinished on the two boxes. The walnut veneer case on those have been refinished as well, all in Danish oil. It's a nice system. It has the original RCA cables, which is amazing. They're like four foot RCA cables, and they stayed with it all these years, which is amazing. I thought about changing out to some full range drivers, but it's probably not really worth it. The balance is a little bit off. I think there's a capacitor problem on the left channel. I don't think it's worth tearing into at this point. If somebody wants to go full out and do that, they're welcome to. I will sell it that way with that necessary improvement. But all you have to do is tweak the balance on a little bit, bias it towards the left channel, and it levels right out. All the inputs work: bass and treble, volume, the FM selector, tuning knob, cleaned, and all those. Power on off, no problem. And it's beautiful, really nice little system. Have a look at the rest of the video. I think you'll learn some more. All right, let's zoom in on our unit in the raw state. It's pretty dirty. There's our Realistic Modulaire. Needs some cleaning. You can see this. Let's come back a little bit. Here's the whole front. Somebody actually penciled some stations onto the bezel. Not good. Here's our couple of speakers with the grills off. Single driver. I pulled one of the drivers so we could take a look at it. 3 watts, 8 ohms. So not a lot of power output to it. And then here it is in its raw glory before we tear into it. So it's going to take a little bit of work, but I think by the time we get done, we'll have a nice unit. As we do in our videos on this channel, we always like to get into a little history. So in this case, a Realistic receiver from Radio Shack has an interesting history. We've covered before. You can find all the old catalogs. It took me a while to find this one with the Modulaire receiver. This is the 1971 version 2 catalog of Allied Radio Shack. And our last video, which was on Optimus, we didn't really spend a lot of time on Radio Shack, but you know, Radio Shack has such an interesting history, and if you are a little bit of a younger person, you at some point might want to learn a little bit more about it. But you know, a couple of the points, there is still a company that holds the name, and there's still some stores out there. I noticed a final comment here. Just a couple of weeks ago, they said they might have to declare bankruptcy again. the current owners of the Radio Shack brand, so that's kind of interesting. But they've been through a lot of acquisitions and a lot of name change, and all for a company that was started by some guys in Boston over 100 years ago. So obviously they've been around quite a while. Another interesting thing about Radio Shack I found in the history here is they were at one point the #1 producer of personal computers. Obviously they were the largest electronic retailer in the entire world, and of course they had many brands that they carried along the way. One was the Realistic brand, and this was a brand, here you can see the detailed information about the Realistic brand. Started in 1969. That's the logo that we have on our Modulaire receiver, and they use this primarily for audio and video equipment. Originally not called Realistic, it was actually the Realist brand. So that was good to know. I had not read that before. And here you see some information on Optimus, which we didn't include in our last video. I probably should have. Sorry about that. At some point, I would love to find a quadraphonic receiver. And quadraphonic is something that Realistic did practice. So back a little closer to our specific unit. If you get to page 62 in the 1971 catalog, there it is, the world's best under $100 AM/FM radio system. So we can blow this up, and there you see the two speakers and the receiver itself. Solid state circuitry, oiled walnut cabinets, yes, headphone jack, bass and treble. There's a note in here, it's introduced in 1970 and already a permanent addition in thousands of homes. So I looked in the 1970 catalog and I did not find the Modulaire listed there. And perhaps they introduced it, but it didn't make it into the catalogs. And that could be because Radio Shack and Allied were joining in 1970, and perhaps it just didn't happen because they were busy doing other things. I don't know. But the Modulaire, 18 watts of power, I believe that's 18 watts per channel, 35 total. And the stereo indicator light, which is noted here, and as you saw in the video, that is something that I did repair. It was not working, and we did a little soldering on that, got it working. Separate bass and treble, yes. All the most wanted and variety of inputs, yes, absolutely. So that's the one. Looks just like our unit. And I think it's so fun to go back and look at these and see how they were marketed. Obviously, there's many other stereo systems in this catalog, but took me a while to find this one, but there it is. Let's take a couple minutes, and after we've done the cleanup, take a look inside and see what we've done internally here. First thing, let's do a power on here, and you'll see originally we had the original incandescents in here. We have replaced those with LEDs. And then over on the right end, this is the stereo tuning bulb. So obviously if you take it out of tune, that bulb will not light until you get it on tune. And that glows nice on the front. We do have a little dark spot, little zone right here. It's a little dark right here. I'm going to look at balancing that out a little bit, but the glass and the filter on the back side looks good. All the knobs cleaned up nice. The left channel output's a little bit low, so I may tweak that up a bit, but internally everything's working. balance knobs. We did cleaning on everything, volume knob, balance knobs, bass and treble, the input selector. So it's complete. So the case has now been refinished. We'll button it all back up and you'll see the final product. On the back side here you see the Model 12-1470A, AM and FM inputs, phono and tape input, tape output, left and right speaker with RCA. And by the way, these are the original RCA cables that were for the two speakers. So I'll hook it up in a minute and play it for you. And we've got a headphone out over here, 1/4 inch. So that's really it for the back side. Made in Japan. All right, here we have the whole system set up as originally sold. Got the Modulaire receiver. We've done a nice refinishing on both the speakers and the case, nice walnut veneers. I contemplated changing out the drivers, but they're both working fine. Yeah, you could get more full range, but this system is really a looker for the most part, not a player. Grills, original grills, still looking nice. Held on with Velcro as original. There's the Realistic Hi-Fi emblem. I don't want to get dinged here for copyright, but and maybe I should put some other music on you can listen to as well. Everything's working, AM, FM selection, FM stereo with the indicator, and then the phono tape input is no problem with that. Tuner glides beautifully, oiled all those locations. Balance, treble, no problem. As I mentioned, the left channel's a little low, so that requires a little tweaking. I'm gonna see if I can hone that in a little bit more. I may be able to, I may not be, not sure about that. Nice little system, very retro. Side of the speakers, just the RCA input. Got that SP2 stamp on it. Same on this one, SP2. But nice system. $100 back in the old days. Probably try to sell it for $100 now.